Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa over there.
Hello.
I'm Kelly, and boy, it's 39 degrees out, but it's 100 degrees here in the office.
Yes.
I had like the warmest sweater, and I've got my woolly hat, and I had a zip up hoodie to go over the woolly sweater, and I want to be in my tank top right now. I'm not gonna lie.
Always a crapshoot coming over here and figuring out what the weather's going to do to this apartment.
This place should be in a seasonal thing between two people where you've got the one person who's always cold that stays here certain times of the year, and one person who's always hot that stays here during the other times of the year.
It's true. This is actually kind of my ideal living situation because I'm always cold. So I don't hate it because I'm like, man, I'm not cold right now. That's exciting.
I'll tell you what, though, it was, 58 degrees and cloudy yesterday, and the house was freezing. It's impossible to heat this place because of these gigantic windows. So I was just wrapped in a blanket watching movies and all that.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Speaking of which, I watched a really fucking great movie. It's on Shudder. It is a documentary, and it is called Leap of Faith.
Oh.
Yes, I really want to see this.
Eric, you're really going to love this. Vanessa, you might love this.
Okay.
This is a documentary about the making of The Exorcist, and it is narrated by William Friedkin.
Oh, interesting.
And if you are under the assumption that William Friedkin has a bit of an ego
Yeah.
and all that, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's just him talking about how fucking great the decisions he made on this film.
We almost paralyzed a young child, but don't worry, it was worth it.
You know what? That part never came up.
Funny. I
Interesting.
did wonder how he was going to
Never talked about
navigate that.
hurting Ellen Burstyn either, yanking her across the room.
Oh, wow.
Never
Yeah,
talked about any of that stuff. He does talk about punching the priest in the face to get a good reaction.
Oh my God.
Or shooting a gun, shotgun to get a reaction from Jason Miller. But really, it was just a lot of just discussion on the technical stuff, why he made this choice. I did not realize that. Now I can't remember his name. Keaton, not Michael Keaton, but no, Stacy
Keach.
Stacy Keach, thank you. That was who had been hired to play Father Karras in the film.
Oh, right.
And Friedkin saw Jason Miller in a play and was just like, holy shit, this is the guy. And the studio basically had to pay Keach his entire salary
Oh my
to
God.
let him go.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was, stuff like that I thought was really, really fascinating. And I just thought it was really interesting. He talks about going into the music and how many scores that were created for the film, and they just didn't work. There are a couple of scenes with the unused scores in it, and you're like, oh yeah, I can see why that would not work at all.
Wow.
So really, really neat stuff. Really inside baseball stuff for film lovers.
Got to see that one.
Well, I saw something that was actually rather delightful, and I had been meaning to see for a little bit on Netflix, Enola Holmes.
I've seen that pop up.
I had a text from my cousin a few weeks back, and she said, "This is my favorite film ever now."
Wow.
Yeah,
geez.
she was like, "This is the best film I have seen in my life." I was like, "Well, I guess I could give it a whirl, to see how it comes out in the wash." It is just really delightful.
Oh, good.
Yeah, if you need to have a pick-me-up, I will say, this is just, if you're feeling crummy, if, dog bit you and you lost your work for the day because your computer restarted and you're still
You're living in that country music song again.
Yeah, totally. If you're living during COVID, this film is it's just wonderful. It's about Enola Holmes, which is Sherlock Holmes's younger sister. She has a very tight-knit relationship with their mother. She's very much a younger sister, much younger than them. So didn't really grow up with them around. And her two brothers.
Mycroft. And Sherlock.
Thank you. And her mother goes missing, and she just on her 16th birthday, and she gets a few clues and decides to follow the lead. And it's kind of about her as a female who was raised in a very feminist manner, dealing with Victorian London. Wow. And how much they're like, why aren't you wearing your whalebone corset? And don't you know how to stitch? And like all this stuff. And her mom like taught her how to like fight and like box and stuff. And she's just really like fumbling around. And the great part about it to me was seeing Billie Jean Williams. Is that her name? The girl who is the lead in Stranger Things. Forgetting her name right now.
Yeah, I can't remember her name either.
Something very cool sounding. But anyway, she is so talented.
And she plays Enola?
She does. She plays Enola. And you can't really tell how talented she is by watching Stranger Things because she mostly just looks wide-eyed around a lot and seems like confused by the world. And I don't think it's a terribly hard part to play, but she's actually naturally British and just so clever, so good, so there and present and energetic. I really enjoyed it. So,
nice. Boy, Netflix has been good to that girl.
They have. I think they actually have been pretty good with a lot of their stars.
Yeah,
sure. That's pretty cool. I've got something kind of almost along the lines there, but definitely different. Veronica Mars.
Oh my God! Wait, the movie or the show?
The show. My wife and I have been watching that. Oh. I think I watched it a year or two after it originally came out.
Sure.
And I was like, Dina, you need to watch this. You're going to love it. She never like, whatever, go ahead, just watch it. So I was like, she saw something, a trailer or something. I was like, have you seen that one? Yes. We're going to watch it now, finally. And she loves it.
Aww.
Absolutely loves it. It's good. And the part that blew me away is at the time I watched it, it hadn't fully developed, but man, that show is full of, that person went on to do great things. Oh, that person went on to be. It's like whoever was the casting agent in that show knew their shit. But I remember very little from the first time I watched it, so it's been a lot of fun to watch. It's incredibly well written. It's got a lot of a Buffy feel to it.
Yeah.
It's a lot because the main dynamic is Veronica and her dad, which is very Giles and Buffy. Mm-hmm. Like he's a great male dad figure as opposed to, dads and moms in teen-based shows are often props that are sort of on the side, but he's a main purpose and his main point, and he's really well done. And Veronica's great, and it's just really smart and
I never really even knew what the show was about.
Her father was the sheriff of a town and got in trouble because it's a super, super wealthy town, like billionaire kind of class. And he got in trouble because Veronica's friend was killed and he accused the wrong people of killing her. So he was ostracized from the from the sheriff. So now they're private detectives. Oh. They work together.
In the same town, or they have moved to a different...
Same town.
Okay.
And they're working together. And in the background, he's always working to solve that murder. And her mom went away because of it as well. So Veronica's trying to figure out why her mom's gone. So it has this very strong ongoing story with very nice little, like she helps people out of trouble at the school. And
it's very oriented around like her classmates and like what their perspective of this thing that happened in the town is as well. And so she's also kind of uncovering these clues at the same time her dad is.
And she's a teen detective then.
Yeah. And then of course you've got fun guest stars. So I'm going, somebody involved with Buffy is there. Charisma Carpenter's got a little 3 or 4 episode stint, and Joss Whedon makes an appearance as a car rental guy or something like that. But Buffy's a really good comparison. It just moves right along there.
Wow, I might have to check that out.
On Hulu.
Yeah, definitely worth a watch.
I went back a little further in my TV watching history this week. Vanessa, you were not even born when this show came out, and there'd be no reason for you to have known about it because it's been impossible to find. Eric, you might remember this, and people like Craig and maybe Danny might remember this show called Cliffhangers. It only lasted for 11 episodes in 1979, and it was my favorite show while it was on. It was set up, hour-long show, with 3 different stories going on. One of them was Dracula, 1979.
Oh.
And one of them was called The Secret Empire, which it took place in the Old West, but they had laser guns.
Okay.
And then one of them was called Stop Susan Williams, which was a brash female reporter who was uncovering some kind of conspiracy that was going to lead to something gigantic happening on this one date. And all these people, I mean, this is a worldwide group of assassins that are trying to kill her to stop this story from coming out. And every chunk of the show would last for like 20 minutes, and then it would end on a cliffhanger, like the old serials. And the next episode start up there again the way the old serials did. So you'd see somebody driving down the street and their car would explode. And is this the end of Susan Williams? And the next episode would start with that same scene, and then she'd jump out of the car just before it exploded.
A very misery.
Yes. So I loved this show, and I thought that I remembered that they had made out of the 3 stories there, the Dracula one was the only one that actually finished its story before it was canceled. And so they had collected that into a movie, basically. So I was looking for that to find, and I found that somebody in August of this year, some fucking hero, posted all 11 episodes of the full series on YouTube.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Now, it's not the best quality.
Sure.
But the strongest part is the sound, which somehow makes some of the bad visuals okay.
Yeah,
you know, it's got some. It looks like it was recorded off of a VCR, and now somebody transferred that to digital and uploaded
somebody during being trapped in their home decided to go through all their old boxes and found this DVD.
Right. And you
VHS.
think about this and you're like, why is it so hard to get these shows up? Well, fucking it cost, $2,500 for a VCR player back then. So you didn't have one unless you were super rich. And then you had to also account for what a person like that was watching and what they would bother taping. And so they probably weren't taping the shitty NBC series that only lasted 11 episodes. Well, somebody did. Somebody uploaded them, and I've made my way through about 5 of those. All I wanted was that Dracula one. I'm totally in on the other 2 stories again. I'm having such a great time. And
you get the advantage of knowing, okay, I'm not going to know how this wraps up.
Right, except for the Dracula one. But the best part, and I loved this so much then, and I love it now. I loved when Star Wars came out. Well, when it first came out, it was just Star Wars. But then, like on its second run or something, it was suddenly Chapter 4. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking at my mom and going, why is this episode 4? And she goes, there must be 3 episodes before it. And my 10-year-old brain just exploded. This show, the very first episode, starts on Chapter 4 of Dracula, Chapter 5 of The Secret Empire, and Chapter 6 of Stop Susan Williams.
Oh, my God.
And then it just goes on from there. And so that gave them the luxury of just kind of pretending that you knew what had happened up to these points.
Oh, my God.
And it was really smart. And I thought it was a really neat storytelling device. I thought it was a really neat show. And I think that there are probably some of our older listeners are going, oh, shit, I forgot about that show. It's on YouTube. Look it up. Cliffhangers.
I may have to check that out because I don't remember that. But then I could pop in like the cockroach one and I see a shock. Oh, I know this.
Right. Well, I'll just say this. The Dracula story is definitely by far the strongest story. And it's Michael Nouri as Dracula. And he's just a very handsome, suave. He's a professor in this one. And there is a relative of Van Helsing that is trying to hunt him down. And
nice.
His assistant's mom was killed by Dracula. But then we find out he loved her mother also. And all this stuff. It's a super vampire soap opera. I'm loving it.
Oh, that sounds really amazing, actually. God bless YouTube, by the way. Like they have like there's a lot of just lost stuff that like is in rights limbo that will just pop up there, and it's just the next TV, I guess. Well, I saw another film Eric, have you had a chance to talk? Yes, you did. You talked about Veronica.
Yep.
I saw in my ever-loving quest to get through all of the Jason movies.
Okay, yeah.
I thought Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh, okay.
I'm a little annoyed, frankly.
Oh, okay.
They were just like, all the rules that we've kind of loosely set up for this entire show or series of films. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
So by that time, they've changed the rules like 3 or 4 times.
No,
so.
I mean, very strongly, though. Like this one, where it's like Jason is actually, if you like eat his heart or something, then you will become him. And then like the mask is, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter who you are. And then there's like a baby devil creature version of Jason that like is floating between people. It's a weird film. Oh, and then Jason has a sister, and so she's the only one who can hurt these people who are inhabiting his spirit. It's so weird. I was not thrilled. So
It's kind of the hidden of the Jason movies. You remember that movie, The
Yeah.
Hidden? I have a soft spot for this film,
me too.
and it's because they clearly were trying something new. They
definitely trying something
They
new.
saw, Jason Takes Manhattan and
Which
said, "Okay, we gotta do something, or we're gonna lose this."
Yeah.
And this was an interesting way to go. I thought it was kind of muddied by the fact that the lead actor was also the lead in the Friday the 13th series,
Oh.
which had no direct,
Yeah, it wasn't really linked at all.
no link to the films. And so
Huh.
that was a confusing moment. But I don't know, as a horror film, I was like, okay. I mean, as a nightmare or a Friday the 13th, I guess they're not even calling it that, right? They're just calling it Jason.
Yeah,
at
they
this
just
point.
call this one Jason.
I think they
Yeah.
lost the rights, or Sean Cunningham
Something
kept
like
it. That's
that.
why they were able to make the series. I get how you could be annoyed, but it's a pretty bad franchise by this point, and
It is
Yeah.
pretty bad. Although it's really irritating because the movie before Manhattan, I'm not quite remembering what it was now, but was actually pretty good.
that was The New Blood with the telekinetic girl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember it not being, yes, you're right. And I remember it not being the worst. And then I was like, what happened? Like, Jason Takes Manhattan, like,
Oof,
how does the
so
Crystal
bad.
Lake feed? I just need the geography.
Where is
Figure-
Crystal Lake?
I mean, Crystal Lake is obviously somewhere in New Jersey, I guess. But like it,
Boy, that really changes the concept of it being crystal.
Right.
right. And it's not a lake if it connects to an ocean.
Right.
It's no longer a lake. So if it can go into the fucking Statue of Liberty area, it's got to be like a river or like something different.
Lakes can have rivers that flow off into it and out of it.
I guess so. I just didn't
Lakes
get
are
the.
not ponds that have no feed or no exit.
I guess you're right, but it just does feel
Generally,
weird.
you wouldn't be able to take your yacht down that river.
No,
though.
I mean,
It's a big yacht.
No,
it is
you
a big
would-
yacht. And it's weird that he was like, he somehow got where we left him last under a bridge in Crystal Lake and kind of near-ish the shoreline to like being kind of on this yacht thing. And then did he transfer yachts? Did he go from one yacht to another yacht?
I don't remember that, but he
Yes.
ends up wandering through Manhattan, which
Eventually.
is a
It's like
bad fit.
5 minutes
Yeah.
left in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When they realized they had the only amount of budget that they had was being used out there.
I guess
so.
for me, the Friday the 13th movies do not qualify as movies worth
Critiquing?
critiquing to that level. They're just, for me, they're just ones to enjoy. Some are stupid and fun to enjoy, like Jason 10 and Jason Goes to Hell.
Jason X.
Jason
that's,
X,
That's
yeah.
one of my favorites.
I
And
enjoy
getting
both
there, I'm
of
getting there.
those. They're terrible,
Yeah.
but they're fun. It's the ones like Goes to Manhattan or like Nightmare 5,
like,
I think it is, that
painful.
has Alice Cooper in it, where they go from being just bad.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
period.
Yeah, I do like the ones where they're just having fun with him murdering people. Like that's generally a lot of fun. I think, and I do think you're right. Like they were trying a lot of new things. It just was so different for me that I guess I already had accepted what they were supposed to be from having seen 8 previous ones.
Sure.
And so then being like, what? Okay. And like, I know the guy who made it was like really young when he made it, and it was like one of his first films, or maybe his first film, but I just didn't like the new rule set. I felt like there was a lot of new information that was coming through that just made no sense to me. So
Sure.
I totally get that. I think that the last time I watched it, I haven't watched the movies in order in a long, long time. I just go back to the ones I liked, and then I think I was like, I should give this one a try. I remember not liking it, and then just watching it alone, I was like, this is not so bad. It just doesn't fit in as a Friday movie.
Right, exactly. I think if it hadn't been a Friday movie, if it had just been about a serial killer, I think that would have been much more interesting.
Sure.
Yeah, because then don't they throw all this out?
Yeah, I'm
after
sure
that
they
anyway?
must.
So-
I mean, I'll find out sometime this week, probably. But
All right.
yeah,
Oh, wait, so that was 9. So you got Jason X.
I still have Jason X. Yeah,
And
Jason versus Freddy, and then the remake of the original. So I got those 3 left.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
I
getting there.
wait your reviews.
Yes.
Oh God. Okay.
kidding.
A lot of pressure.
Not so much. Did I talk about seeing Possessor previously?
I don't know if you did or not, but I'd like to hear.
No, you didn't.
It's
Because I've been
awesome.
curious. Really?
Holy shit, is it good?
Yeah.
Cronenberg's son is out Cronenberging his dad, basically.
Oh my God.
Because, well, Cronenberg stopped being what we classify as Cronenberg
True.
decades ago.
True.
And this picks that up and runs with it. It is body horror done right. It's well worth checking out, and grim and weird and dark.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was, that's another, casualty of the pandemic, is that should have gone to theaters, and it should have been a minor hit and a big hit with horror fans. So I hope they'll give it a try. His last film, the Antiviral, I think that was
I
his.
didn't dislike that as much as you did. I thought it was interesting.
I didn't like it, but I loved Possessor.
The concept, the idea presented in Possessor is a nice little poke to me, where I often say, if you're really looking for original ideas in movies, there aren't too many left. This is a pretty good one. The overall concept isn't remotely original, but the execution is incredibly original. It's like, holy shit.
I'm excited. No, I've been really wanting to see it, and it's really neat. All the kids of these people, like Joe Hill, and different people who are popping up, and it's like, wow, you're good.
Yeah.
Good job. Way to not suck.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, cool, guys. Should we take a little break and come back with some funky food?
Yes.
Sure.
Easy bake, fast as you can. Mix 'em up, pour 'em in the pan. Slide 'em in, let 'em bake now. Slide 'em in, slide 'em out, easy bake, wow! Only Kenner's Easy Bake Oven Set makes such delicious cakes, cookies, candy, brownies, pizza, pies, and biscuits. It bakes like magic with 2 ordinary light bulbs and has a special cooling chamber. Easy Bake by Kenner.
We are back. Vanessa, this was your pick.
Yeah.
So I chose for this week freaky food, because we're in the holiday season, and we're eating a lot of stuff. Sometimes sometimes stuff we want to eat. Sometimes traditionally stuff we don't. Aunt Bertha shows up with a weird Jell-O concoction that she says is actually meant to go on chips, and yet. So funky, freaky food.
Aunt Bertha. God damn.
I use that name because none of my aunts are named Bertha. So the film I decided to go with for this one, there were a lot of great options, and I'm really excited to dig into other films at a future time. But the one I went with was one that I'd never seen all the way through. I'd only seen the end, like as played on TV at various points, and that is the movie Thinner.
Did you weigh yourself?
297.
Billy, you were 297 last week.
It takes some time for these diets to work.
For Billy Halleck, life is sweet.
better. And too much is never enough.
Winning.
You've got to stop eating like that.
I can't help it, Heidi. All I think about is food.
But tonight, all of that will change.
You killed my daughter, and I curse her.
From the best-selling novel by Stephen King comes the new shape of terror.
This diet you're on, what is it? I don't think you'd like it, Henry.
Being erased.
Fear the power.
That old gypsy put a curse on me.
It's all your fault if you hadn't hit that old lady.
Beware the danger.
This is getting out of hand. This has been out of hand, and I'm just the guy to put it back.
Believe the curse.
Please, take it off before this goes any further.
I never take it off.
Stephen King's Thinner. More terror, less filling.
Ah, nice.
Okay.
1996. Rated R.
I'm curious to hear what you
Yeah.
think of this
92 minutes in length.
film.
It's a $4 Amazon rental.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
The critics on Rotten Tomatoes give it a 15%.
Seems high.
Seems like a number. Audience gives it 30%.
Oh, double.
Very, very different number, I guess. The budget was 14 mil. Box office 15.3. It did not lose money unless they spent money at all on advertising it. Director Tom Holland. Not
Really?
that Tom Holland,
right? Okay.
obviously, but the other Tom Holland, which is probably the Tom Holland you guys know, which is the guy who wrote and directed Fright Night, Child's Play at Langoliers, and some of the Tales from the Crypt. Writer Stephen King, based off of a Stephen King story of some sort that I didn't look too far into.
He's not the screenwriter, though, is he?
No.
Okay.
No. Screenplay by Michael McDowell and Tom Holland. So Michael McDowell, kind of amazing, wrote, he's only written 14 projects, but that includes Beetlejuice, 11 episodes of Tales from the Dark Side, and Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, jeez.
Unfortunately, he passed away in 1999 from he was only 44 years old, and it was from an AIDS-related illness. So that's really, really unfortunate. Starring people... I thought they seemed recognizable, but in retrospect, so the main character, played by Billy Halleck, a dislikable, likable lawyer, who you may remember as being an Equalizer. Not that one, the 1986 TV Equalizer, starring as O'Toole for an episode.
You might be not surprised to notice that when you say Equalizer, that is what I think of first.
Oh, really?
It's not the Denzel Washington film.
Oh, I only think of Denzel.
Original TV series that
my mom
the Denzel
loves that movie.
film is based on.
Home Depot, come on. And he also is in RoboCop 3 as RoboCop and plays RoboCop in the RoboCop versus Terminator video game. So very
I think
cool.
he was RoboCop in the short-lived TV series. Even.
Was he? Very possible, because that would have been a little bit of later RoboCop times. He's been in 90 things, so whatever. He's actually been in a recurring character in Law & Order SVU, so there you go. Joe Montagna,
Montagna?
Playing Richie, the local gangster, local mafia guy.
Really? Okay.
Shockingly. Yeah. That guy has been in 147 things, including Eddie in Baby's Day Out. He's also Joe Zaza in Godfather, Coda, 1990. But what I knew him from was Fat Tony in The Simpsons. That was immediately, as soon as he started, I was like, I know who you are. You're Fat Tony. Like, he was barely there, and it was so recognizable. Total pleasure to watch. Lucinda Jenny, who plays the hot wife, she's been in 91 things as nothing. Most of her roles are things like jogger, professor, Susan's mother, adult version of X character. The only thing she was really in was 4 episodes of 24 and 7 episodes of The Shield. So as close to a actual character as possible. So she's just a surreal person on screen. Their daughter is played by one of my favorite kind of TV actresses, Bethany Joy Lenz, who was in 187 episodes of One Tree Hill as Haley James Scott, who I loved. I saw all of that show during a time in which I was a pompous film student, and I didn't want anybody to know I was watching it. I just had them all on DVD and was watching them back to back. I was so obsessed. I could not stop myself.
Hide them under your mattress.
I did. I just hid them. If anybody came over, trust me, they were not out in a visual sight. But she's great. She's one of the best parts of this film. And then you also have a couple of smaller, bigger people playing smaller roles, I guess. Carrie Wooer, who is in 79 projects, including Maggie Beckett in Sliders. And she also was a voice in Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which is something I know her from. I don't know if you guys know her from something else, but...
Well...
Sliders.
From my mind.
Sure.
Yeah. I have heard that she is just a nasty human being.
Really?
A very unpleasant person to work with.
I bet. I mean, she
is fun to look at.
She's beautiful. And I got the sense that she is very, very good at looking at the camera and telling the camera she's beautiful. And that's kind of all she has to do in this one, because she's playing a temptress gypsy daughter. And then last but not least, we have a very problematic character of the gypsy leader who puts a curse on our main character, played by Michael Constantine, who has a great name. And he's been in 180 things, and he's very recognizable, but I didn't really know him specifically from any one thing. He is Gus in literally every version of My Big Fat Greek Wedding, which included a TV show. Man, that thing got like legs.
Yeah.
I don't think it deserved the amount of... Anyway. So, okay, here's what's going on. So, in this movie, based on a Stephen King project, y'all,
Is that
there's...
a Bachman book?
It was going to be a Bachman book.
Oh, but then he got found out.
Well, I think it was the book that found him out.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, he wrote it as Richard Bachman.
Oh.
Somebody outed him.
Oh, shoot. Interesting. Okay. Huh? Fascinating. I wish that had been in the trivia I dug up. Whatever. So there is a large gentleman who's in a Norbit-like suit of fatness. It is so unnatural. The makeup seems to look fine. Like you don't notice like, oh, he's got like a big fat like fake belly thing. But like the way he moves his body and his face does not carry on to the putty. And so it just looks weird. Like he just looks like very shy or timid because of the way his face does not move. So is a larger lawyer man who kind of has the perfect life. He's got a beautiful smoking hot wife who is not a very good actress. He's got an amazing, funny, well-acted daughter who likes to just randomly quote The Godfather at him at the breakfast table. She's super, super neat character. And he just is winning his cases. He's sort of the pride and joy of his law firm, and makes a little bit of a mistake one day. Well, first of all, I guess we find out he's not I don't know if he's a bad guy. I think they're trying to tell us he's a bad guy because he helps get this local mafia dude, bigwig, off. And he gets him off by kind of outing this other mafia guy as having... The other mafia guy was like, he's put a hit out on me, tried to kill me. But then actually his wife had also tried to put... Anyways. So I'm like, this guy isn't a good guy. So what does it matter if he like played around and did legal things to... He didn't do anything illegal to show off this guy was lying. But I mean, anyway, I guess he's bad for helping a mafia guy win a case he probably should have won. Fine. The other thing, yes, okay, fine. We're getting there.
Shall we move on to another movie here?
So...
No, wait, you got to hear my vitriolic rage over this film after you're done.
I'm excited. I'm excited for it, frankly. So, anyways, so he's the problem is he goes to a fancy meal with his wife where he just eats. He's just constantly shoving shit in his face to a level that isn't even human. Like, I know there are overweight people, like, because they have shows about them on TLC, but like this is insanity. Like the amount this guy, it's stupidly.
Was it not Life of Brian? Monty Python's Meaning of Life.
Right.
Where the guy eats until he explodes.
It's very much like that. It's just ridiculous. It's literally ridiculous. Everything about it is fucking ridiculous. And it's stupid because you can't take it seriously because you're like waiting for a trumpet behind him to go, oboe.
And finally, a wafer thin mint.
That's right.
Oh my God. And so anyway, he's driving back with his wife after this dinner where he ate disgustingly to celebrate his big win. And she decides to give him a hand job, which turns into a blow job because she's like the best wife ever. She like cares about his health. She like never comes down on him. She's really proud of him. She's obviously helping him raise a great daughter. She's invented like a weird like electronic like system to help track his weight off of what he's eating and how she's really great.
She went on to create the Fitbit.
Kind of, yeah, she looks like she would. And anyway, during this blowjob, he looks up at the last minute and accidentally hits a gypsy woman.
Just so we don't offend everybody, the correct term is Roma.
I agree. Let's just go ahead and say this movie is the most insulting thing that has ever happened to the Gypsy Nation. Like the worst.
So the Roma Nation?
I'm sorry, you're right. The Roma Nation, the Romanians.
Just have it known that the views of Vanessa do not necessarily reflect the views of the other.
I have no problems with the Romanian people, travelers or not travelers.
When you say Roma, I think of the Mexican Oscar-nominated film.
Oh yeah, Roma.
A couple years ago, Roma.
Okay, well that's going to help me remember it.
I think of Rice Roma, the San Francisco tree.
I'm guessing you just blew up your whole point there.
I will say, okay, this is so honestly.
Eric, edit that out.
So the guy there's a leader, right, of the Roma. There's a leader of the, I will say it, the gypsy people, because that's how they're calling it.
Yes.
And we're not saying gyp, so that, which is really horrible and should not be said.
We're not saying this horribly offensive word I just said.
I feel really bad saying it out loud. I can't wait till
she drops a couple of N-bombs later.
I know. I've got to get it. This is bad. Anyway, everything about this is bad. So the leader has long hair and he kind of talks around fireplaces and there's lots of dancing and rituals, and it's basically like somebody didn't maybe know what the Roma were or anything about them whatsoever and just decided they were actually Native Americans with like fun costumes. And that is exactly how it's played. Like to the point where he doesn't even speak English. He's like, white man from city.
Oh,
like,
man.
Yes. He has long white hair and like everything about it is very Native American. They play it up so hard and they clearly have no fucking clue what they've done. It's disgusting. So just a film of extremes, shall we say. So anyway, he hits this man's, what turns out to be daughter, who also is a very old woman, but this guy's been around for fucking ever, hits this woman, kills her, blood all over the hood of his car. And I was like, oh, he's going to drive off. He's going to like run away. And that's going to be the bad thing. No. He has to drive off. Next thing we have the next morning, clearly hung around, waited for the police, admitted that he accidentally hit this woman or not. The bad thing is he gets off. He gets off because it was an accident, which it kind of was because she did step pretty suddenly out in front of his car. But the police lie. The pharmacist, played by Stephen King, lies. Everybody lies about, he hadn't been drinking. Well, okay. I mean, I guess he had been drinking, but it didn't seem like he drank that much. It was really the blowjob that did it. Like he gets off from this crime because I guess he did a really bad, I don't know. I think he could have logically gotten off anyway. So it was a little, okay. So the gypsy guy's pissed because his daughter's murdered and no one is going to be tried. So he curses him. And he basically walks up to him and gently caresses his cheek and says, thinner.
Thinner.
Thinner. Just like the title font. Thinner.
Tales from the Crypt. It's the Crypt Keeper.
And then, of course, so the rest of the film, this guy has been cursed and begins to lose a lot of weight, like 2 to 3 pounds a day, no matter what he eats. So he continues to eat poorly. And then that's basically this film. It's like, all right, I get to still eat. I get to still be fat. Ha 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 ha. What are you doing differently? Nothing. Like, it's just horrible. Like, people who have any kind of genuine weight, like, attempt, we've all in our lives at some point not been thrilled with our body image, and this film just is like a big F you to all of us. It's just like, well, this guy gets to lose weight, but he's unhappy about it because after he starts to lose a lot of weight, it gets really bad. And okay, it does get really bad, but
eventually he looks like a Hollywood actress.
Yes, eventually he does. Eventually he looks very thin. And then he tries to find a way to lift the curse. He kind of gets his mob buddy involved. His mob buddy takes it a little too far and kind of shoots up the Roma camp. Does not go very well. He puts a glass of acid on the forehead of the hot gypsy granddaughter who's left, who's hanging around, who's played by our Sliders actress, and threatens to burn her face off, but she does manage to get away unscathed. So there's that. He's just going a little far, and I think that's where the rated R comes in. Like, there's just moments just near the end where, like, this plot gets to the point where the dude calls in his mob friend very close to the end, and all of a sudden people's faces are missing, and, like, just shit gets real. And so finally, this, like, sort of, neighbor disputes, your grass is, you didn't mow it right. Well, I'm going to have my dog pee on your lawn because it was just this tit for tat, back and forth, constant, like, thing between the definitely not a Native American guy and this guy who's no longer fat, to the point where finally the not Native American guy is like, you know what? I give up. Here's a pie. This is how you lift the curse. There's going to be a spoiler now.
Oh,
I'm sorry. This film was made in 1996 and is played a zillion times on TV. So if you don't know how it ends, skip ahead. So Pie, he fills it with his hand blood. He's like, whoever you want this curse to go to, feed them this pie. But I encourage you to keep it because this is a die clean, die not having done something horrible to another person. And the guy's like, ha 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 ha. I suspect my wife, by the way, randomly out of nowhere, of cheating on me with a doctor and have obsessed about this for literally no reason. Plot just super twists from my wife gave me a blowjob in the car because she loves me no matter what I look like and no matter who I am, to I'm going to murder the biatch because she looked like she was maybe flirting with a doctor one time who she clearly wasn't. And he's like, I'm going to murder her. I'm just going to murder her with my pie. So off he goes to murder her with his pie. And of course, it's a very twisty ending where we get, he does manage to murder her with his pie. Very good, very satisfying. He wakes up with her in bed. He basically leaves the pie on the counter. He's like, good night. If you love me, eat a piece of pie. I gotta go. I forgive you for, everything you didn't do. She's like, oh, okay. I'm gonna eat this pie. He wakes up the next morning. She's dead next to him. He Frenches her, which I was like, aren't you eating the pie right now by French kissing? And then he goes, delicious, strawberry. I'm like, you just ate the pie, you poison. You're supposed to pass it has your soul curse in it. Fine. And then he goes downstairs and his daughter, who he had said, please don't stay the night, please don't, because she's wonderful and amazing and Haley Joy, whatever. Anyway, she has eaten a slice of pie. She's like, hey, Dad, you know what? I just wanted to patch some stuff up with Mom, stayed the night. We had a nice little chit chat, had a girls' night. Well, how was Mom doing? By the way, I just had a piece of pie. It was delicious. See you later. Off to soccer.
A little salty and copper tasting. Better than that.
A little odd, a little weirdly, Yeah, tasted a little thick and congealed in places. Don't know why, but it's fine. And he's like, lets her go. I don't know what his plan of action is at this point. He was going to then eat the rest of the pie, I think, so he would also die, so he doesn't have to live in a world where he has murdered his amazing, wonderful daughter, as well as his conniving, horrible, backstabbing wife who definitely didn't do anything wrong. And then all of a sudden, the guy who he thought she was cheating on with shows up at the front door. So, final ending, come on in, buddy, have a slice of pie. Let's bury it under the hatchet, bridge, whatever. What is this movie? What is this movie? Oh my God, I've never been so bored and like confused and frustrated in my life. It was watching like Norbert the horror film. It's so bad. All right, things I liked. The actress, the daughter actress was great. There were some great pie effects. The pie like warbles at one point once the blood's in it. It does a cool little like ripple effect. That was very neat. The mafia boss played by Fat Tony. Super fun guy. There is a guy who the mafia guy hires to follow them around, and like he turns up dead, or he follows the Roma people around and turns up dead in a car suddenly, and his face is missing and has a chicken stuff in it. Looked very cool. Dislikes.
Everything else.
I don't even know. Yeah. It's like, what? The fat costume's bad. The Roma people are played as Native Americans. Pretty bad. White man from town. Pretty bad. Writing all the way through. Pretty bad. The turn against the wife. Ending with the doctor. All very bad. His like evilness being played in. He wasn't evil. If you wanted this like big like, oh, and he gets his comeuppance, maybe he should have been a little bit more comeuppance worthy. They like, it was so vanilla. Like, oh, I got a parking ticket, so I got a death curse on me. Like, it's not enough. It's just not enough. And also just, it's weird. The turn to hate the wife was really, really, really weird. I've got some trivia if my computer lets me actually use it. Here we go. While in production, writer/director Tom Holland, yeah, that's how I feel about this, was stricken with Bell's palsy, a virus that paralyzed one side of his face. The effects could have been minimalized had he gotten a steroid shot immediately, but the producers insisted on him keep working. So it took him 36 hours between this incident and him getting to a doctor. And that because of that, it took more than a year and a half for him to fully recover.
Jesus.
Commitment to this movie was hard. The film was scheduled to open in May of '96, but the studio pushed back the release until October because of negative reactions from test audiences who reportedly wanted more gore and hated the ending. So they changed the ending. I don't know what the ending was before because I haven't read the novel. I guess it was originally true to the novel, but whatever. I guess this was the better version. Robert John Burke actually lost 20 pounds for the role, so that's impressive. The crew actually planned on doing more gruesome effects and makeup, which makes sense. It's a rated R Stephen King film, but they decided that the Bill Halleck, that's the name of the main character, flesh dangling looked too horrific and decided not to do it. Who pulls back the effects on a... What are you doing? What? It's fine. Okay. Holland actually spent 6 years producing this film. He was trying to get it made forever and ever and ever, but it actually got delayed, ironically, because the thinning effect, the idea of somebody thinning and becoming gaunt into nothing, was seen as potentially might make audiences not want to go and see it because of what was going on with the AIDS epidemic at the time. So the irony of the writer on dying of AIDS. Anyway, yeah, you know what? Michael McDowell, who's a great screenwriter, did actually write this script, but Holland had to do more than 10 rewrites before the executives would greenlight it. So that's probably why it went from being a really good screenwriter to a piece of shit story, because they just had to keep throwing ink at it until it was, So what do you guys think? Did you like it?
In the end, you were glad you watched this, though.
You know what? It was so painful. I was like, I kept looking to see how much longer it was going to be.
You picked this genre.
I know. I really should have gone with like The Stuff, which was my first thought.
Yeah.
But at the last minute, I was really running out of time because of Thanksgiving and everything going on around. I had a crazy job that came through, and I was like, okay, oh my God, I'm going to go with Thinner because it looks like a lot of fun. It looks like a ridiculous 90s, a lot of fun, dumb film.
That's sort of like mine was last week, where I picked the radio broadcast, and by the time I was able to get one, I was like, well, this isn't very good, but...
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to some of the other films I picked up and finding good homes for them in other episodes. I think it was a good topic idea. I didn't choose wisely, but...
Thinner is a pile of shit, for sure. The book is good. It's mostly good as a Richard Bachman book because Bachman's books were grittier and darker than King.
Oh.
In that his characters were a lot more complex and not necessarily likable. You didn't really want this guy to win. That doesn't work with a movie audience. We have to have somebody to root for, and he's not likable. The side story of his wife cheating on him is actually in the book. She is cheating on him, and she's not super supportive. And
that would have made way more sense. Why didn't they do that?
Yeah, that's why he decides to pass that curse on to her.
Oh.
The book is quite good.
Yeah.
If a little nasty. It's mean-spirited.
Right.
The movie is also, but it's also mostly poorly acted.
Yeah.
The direction feels almost like TV direction to me.
Right.
Everybody is a little bigger than they should be when the camera is 6 inches from their face, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I forgot that it was Tom Holland because he's a good director.
Yeah.
But, well, maybe, with the health stuff going on, he couldn't really do it. I don't know. It's a shit movie.
It sounds like execs were like literally following them around on set and checking in every day. It really feels like one of those films just from the other stories of him not being able to leave set when he was sick and all that kind of stuff. I just get that sense.
This was a movie that was originally supposed to be Romero. Director.
Really?
He had...
That I could see.
Yeah, he had started the stuff and then couldn't raise the money. And I think he hung on for a long time trying to raise the money.
Oh, interesting. That would have been
a good choice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think Tom Holland, like you said, I don't think he was a bad choice. I just think the film was, I don't know.
Shit.
Yeah. It was shit. It was really shit.
You give a crappy script to the best director in the world, and you're going to get a crappy movie. I don't care how good the director is. It might look good. The acting might be good. It's still be a crappy movie.
Yeah. And also, mid to late 90s, not a great time for film anyway. I don't think.
I agree with you.
Horror.
Yeah, that was a really weird, like, middling period where horror just was, I don't know. It lost its legs.
Yeah.
Well, what did you guys check out? Hopefully something better than what I saw.
Sure, go ahead. Okay. Yeah, I'm curious what you picked.
I stretched the concept of food.
This
movie I'm talking about, she was not getting nutritional value from what she was eating. What's with me? I didn't write down last week's year. Didn't write this one down. I believe it's 2020.
This was 2019.
Yeah, it's 2020 or 2019. It's right around that festival run versus theatrical release. But film was called Swallow.
Do I make you happy?
I'm the happiest man in the whole world.
I feel so lucky. You're not mad at me?
Mom, we're pregnant.
About what?
I just want to make sure I'm not doing anything wrong.
You couldn't do anything wrong, even if you tried.
So what did you do for money before you met my son?
Retail, mostly.
A lucky break.
I'm just real grateful.
fake it till you make it. Are you happy? Or are you pretending to be happy?
How does it make you feel when you swallow something?
I just like the textures in my mouth. It made me feel in control.
I'm right here.
I just wanted to make you happy.
You get back here with my kid!
I did something unexpected today.
This is available on Fubo or Showtime, or you can buy it for $5. Like, okay, I guess I'll digitally own this. Rotten Tomatoes score 88 from critics and 71 from people watching it. Which, you know what, I agree with. I actually was kind of floored by this movie. Director writer Carlo Mirabella Davis, which is this is his first feature. He's done some shorts. Stars Haley Bennett, who she also has been in the Magnificent Seven remake, The Equalizer, the one you think of.
Oh, good. Okay, there we go.
And Hardcore Henry.
Oh my God, I love Hardcore Henry.
Austin Stowell, who's in Whiplash and Dolphin Tale 1 or 2. I don't know what those are. And Dennis O'Hare, who's in American Horror Story, Town That Dreaded Sundown, Dallas Buyers Club. So it's a pretty significant group. Very strong actors. Lead character's name is Hunter. She marries into a very wealthy family. And very quickly realizes she's married into a controlling, bordering on abusive son of a bitch. And the family is right in step with him. So it's very much the classic, you are going to be the way we want you to be, whether you like it or not. So the movie starts off with a lot of her being left alone in the house and having no control over herself or her world until one day she decides to swallow a marble.
Oh.
If you ever played marbles, you'd probably call these like a boulder, the bigger style version of a marble. And it gives her an incredible sense of accomplishment, like she actually did something unusual and weird. She almost brags about it to her husband, then realizes, I probably shouldn't do that. And there's great little scenes, like after she started doing this a little bit more, where she's she's out to dinner with the family, and she's telling a story, and in the middle of the story, the dad just interrupts and starts telling his son something to do with business and just shuts her down. She's looking at the ice in her water glass, picks that up, puts the ice in her mouth, crunch, 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 crunch. And they all kind of look at her like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's just a great, subtle little scene. She is pregnant, so of course now there is the,
oh no,
you can't go away even if we start to have problems because you've got my child. He starts off is he almost going to be a nice guy? No, he's definitely not. When he loses her shit on her because she ironed a silk tie, which she doesn't know, and gives a great sense of how far is this guy going to escalate? How bad is he going to get as this goes along? The house has a wonderfully strange aesthetic. The director said he was looking for something Hitchcockian, and I think he freaking nailed it. But it also at the same time feels incredibly modern. And then there's shots where the furniture looks like, okay, that looks pure 60s. That looks very 70s. And it's just really interesting to look at, the way the house is set up and the way the furniture is used and the way the people dress. She has a strange little mirror area where she has all of the things she's swallowed and recovered.
Oh.
Where she keeps them lined up.
Oh my God.
So this is like a real disease, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's called pica, I believe, Pica.
And is that part of the disease that you like?
I don't know what the keeping part is, but the swallowing is.
Yeah, I know that. Especially, it's like not completely unique to pregnant women, but it's mostly pregnant women.
I did not run across that, but I could see where it would be.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, your fucking body. What is wrong with you?
Fuck. I thought people just had like pickles and ice cream. I don't know. What?
And thumbtacks.
Oh.
Well, the family finds out what she's doing and, of course, reacts completely reasonably and is very supportive and helpful.
Oh, that doesn't sound right.
Not so much. They hire this really crazy-looking Russian nurse guy to watch over her. He's very cliched of, I can see why you guys hired him. You think he's going to, like, hurt her.
Right.
They take her to therapy, of course. She goes into therapy. Therapist manages to kick the family out and keep her in. But then as you go along later, you find out that the guy has specifically paid this therapy to tell her therapist to tell him what she's talking about in therapy.
Oh, Jesus.
And the reveal for that, of her finding that out, is crushing. It's so incredibly well done. The performance she puts out is just like, oh, God. So the idea, because she doesn't take to it, so the family plans to put her away for the length of the pregnancy. And it's very strange, so I'll just kind of leave it at that as it moves forward to the rest of the movie. But this is one I kind of watched as a curiosity. It's kind of like, this seems really strange. What the hell is this possibly going to be about? And it is, I found, an incredibly compelling story of somebody going through something very weird and unusual. The performances are incredible. Like I said, the disease, not a disease, but it's called pica. So I don't remember, it was Pica, so I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that exactly correct, because you know how I am with pronunciations. The film had a world premiere at Tribeca. Oh, here's the dates. Real premiere at Tribeca on April 28th, 2019. Released in France, January 15th, 2020. And in the U.S., March 6th, 2020 by IFC Films.
Okay.
Nice release there. The film was shot in Poughkeepsie, New York, along the Hudson River. It was a house that was rented, that then they just made it look like they did. And the main reason he wanted it, because they have an outside shot of it, and he wanted a Hitchcockian looking house, and nailed it. Like, that house had to be built in the mid to late 60s. If not, it was built with that in mind. It tied for the highest grossing film in the U.S. for week of April 17th, 2020 with $31,000.
Oh, what a world.
Yeah. And then it did some stuff in drive-thrus or drive-in.
That's a good idea.
So I came across some interesting things. One of the Barry Harts of Canada Globe and Mail wrote that Marabella Davis, the director, treats Hunter's behavior with kids' gloves. It is a disorder that the film treats as a fit for gawking and disgust, not anything close to understanding or empathy, which I absolutely disagree with. I think he completely missed the mark. The idea of the nature of putting anything, quote unquote, weird on film naturally becomes exploitative. Because if it's out of what we consider the norm, we're going to watch it and it's going to be, oh my God, this is so weird. But she is treated so, by the camera and by the actions, the way she presents herself and withholds herself, of finding the strength in swallowing these things to put up with the horrible abuse she's going through, I thought was incredibly powerful. And I did not think it was remotely exploitative. Other than that, this is a weird thing we're watching on screen for quote unquote entertainment.
Right.
It could have very easily fallen into, oh, what is she going to swallow next? That's actually not the main point of the film. There's not a lot of scenes where you see her, what am I going to swallow? There's a little bit of that, and there's a little bit as it goes along when she tries to fight back from like the nurse. And it's all handled really well. It's not, you see the lineup of shit she swallowed and a few things you're going, oh, fuck, you swallow that. But that isn't shown in the film.
Interesting.
That would have made it exploitative to me if they just made it a joke of what will she swallow next.
Right.
So I don't agree with that at all. The overall feeling I got from the film was I really cared what happened to this woman. It was done so well that I really gave a shit and really wanted her family to fuck off. And it was just incredibly interesting. It's a little arty. It's a little, as we always say, deliberately paced. But I never felt bored. The radio one I talked about last week with Robin Williams, I felt frequently bored because it just wasn't working. Even when this movie is doing nothing but seeing her sit alone in the house trying to figure out what she's going to do, it still was interesting because it's so well shot and it's so well art decorated. The art direction in the film is amazing. Frankly, I was blown away by this one. I'd wanted to watch it for a while, so I'm glad you came up with this subject because I was having a hard time figuring out how to shoehorn this one into.
What genre would you classify this as? It doesn't feel horror, right?
Not really.
And it doesn't feel thriller, or
closer to thriller. It's a little bit of the thriller just because of what she's going through, but it was done a disservice being marketed as a horror film.
Yeah, because it is definitely marketed a horror film. It sounds almost like family drama or something, and I don't know. I kept putting off seeing it.
Yeah, same, because I was really disturbed by the trailer, and I was just like, just the idea of sharp objects inside you tearing up things, it really freaked me out. And I was like, I don't think I can watch a film where, like you had kind of said it wasn't, where she just eats progressively worse and worse stuff. Right. But exactly. Like, I think there's this difference between films being and dealing with sensitive topics and being voyeuristic versus being judgmental. It's like one thing to show us something. It's another thing to pass judgment on that thing and say, yeah, but she's an idiot. Yeah. Look what else she did. Or, not letting her breathe. I'm actually kind of excited to check it out. Although I might put it off for a little bit because I'm still terrified about watching. I don't know what it is, but it just wigs me out. It is uncomfortable. It's a strange thing. It's something we all can relate to. We all have a intimate knowledge of eating things. Yeah. And I think as kids, we all eat stuff we're not supposed to. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Her performance is so subtle, and Haley Bennett is so good at what she does that it's just, you want, like you were talking about with Thinner, it's like, I don't like this guy, but I don't hate him enough to celebrate him getting destroyed. Yeah. You want her to figure out what's going on. And when you watch it and you start to realize, okay, she's swallowing because it's giving her some kind of sense of control of her life. It's something she has complete control over. Yeah. It's incredibly well done film. It's definitely not a horror movie, though. I would watch it. There's thriller elements to it because there's some little chase things that go on and some things along those lines, but drama, thriller is more where I'd put it in. It's probably one of those films that the advertiser looked at and go, I don't know what to do with this. Right. Let's make it horror. They'll watch anything. Those people will watch whatever you put in front of them. I love that. I feel like there's not enough conversation about people who are going through different mental, even if for moments in their life, going through different mental, not problems, not illnesses, but like difficulties, like extremes, and this sense of self-harm as a way of control is something that I think is dramatized in a very different way most of the time. Most of the time it's like, oh, well, they tried to kill themselves for attention. Right. This week on, kids. Law and Order. Yeah, exactly. Learn after school special, like it sounds definitely like an interesting A more approach. Relatable disorder might have been cutting. Sure. It's very similar to that, but I think that's too on the nose. It's almost been done a little too much, and this was unique. Yeah. So. Huh. Wow. Okay. Well, interesting pick.
All right. Well, I did a little Google search on freaky food movies, and I came up with something, and I sent it to you guys first and said, hey, is this going to qualify? And you both gave me a thumbs up, and maybe you shouldn't have. I chose from 1987, Street Trash.
I don't need this.
Are you tired of the same old routine?
My wife, my
busting your hump and getting nowhere?
This just ain't my day.
The boss, is he always on your back?
Nice, my ass belongs in your chair, not in your lap, which is where you keep trying to put it, you bastard.
The wife. And the kids.
Is that right?
They never listen.
I hate to see him pissing his life away in them goddamn computer.
Do you ever feel like forgetting the whole thing?
Think I got it easy?
Well, now you can.
I'm talking about life!
Drop out and join the ranks of the few. The filthy. The trash.
I got my own place, a condominium.
Where else can you live for free? And eat for even less? Well, be forewarned. Freedom has its price. Yes, there's always a snake in the Garden of Eden.
What you got for me today?
Today, Tenafly Viper, $1.
Here's to you, pussy. Don't drink my Viper. Watch. What's the matter? You can't hold your liquor, huh?
Street trash. It's easy to find us. We're all over the place. Street trash.
Oh, shit.
There's consuming in that. I've seen it.
There's definitely consumption.
I can't believe you chose Street Trash.
Budget of $500,000. Box office, I could find no information. I was a little surprised to see, though, that the Rotten Tomatoes critic score is 67%.
Whoa.
And the audience is at 61%.
Whoa. Those are very high for this film.
Yeah. This was my first time watching. It was directed by James W. Muro, who has done a ton of TV, including episodes of Shameless, Longmire, SEAL Team. But mostly he worked as a DP and a camera operator for movies like Crash, True Lies, Rush Hour 3, and just a ton of other films through the 80s and 90s.
Shit.
Written by Roy Frumkes, who is the mastermind behind the Substitute trilogy of films with Treat Williams.
Nice. I think I've seen at least 2 of those.
Right. I think it is now a quadrilogy.
Oh, man.
But it stars a bunch of people who did not do much of anything else. Mike Lackey, who was a special effects guy on this movie and I Was a Teenage Zombie in 1987, and then didn't do anything else. Bill Sheppel, who plays a cop in this, and this is his only thing, and he was an actual NYPD cop before he played this. And then Vic Noto, who has 48 credits, mostly TV, but including an episode of Daredevil, The Americans, The Sopranos, Homicide, Life on the Street, stuff like that. He's a big, burly guy, and he obviously plays like bouncers, stuff like that. Yeah. Oof. This is a thoroughly nasty little film.
Yes.
It's there's not a lot of story going on here. It's pretty basic. It's a bunch of moments that kind of circle around the fact that an unscrupulous liquor store owner finds a hidden compartment in the back of his store that contains a crate of old liquor called Tenafly Viper. And he takes a little sip of it. And he's like, ugh, and decides, even my seagulls hated this movie.
Stop talking about this movie. No, don't do it.
He has opinions.
He decides that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just put it up on the shelf for $1 a bottle. And most of the homeless guys all around start drinking it and dying in pretty spectacular ways. Mm-hmm. They start melting. And not just like they drink it and then it burns through them like acid or something. This has some kind of reaction with your cells or something. They don't get into that, but you will bleed from the top of your head, from your feet, from every pore, apparently. And it happens really quick, like within seconds of drinking it.
I don't remember specifically, but is it sort of reminiscent of like the RoboCop, where the guy gets...
Yeah, you melt and then you just fall apart.
Okay.
And it's in Technicolor too. It's blue and pink and orange. It's not the colors of anything inside your skin. And there is a tough cop who's trying to figure out what's going on, but he's just about as bad as the homeless people, who are all portrayed as the worst of society in this film. There's you talk about nobody to like in Thinner. There's literally nobody to like in this movie. In fact, there's a scene where I guess he is our protagonist, Fred, comes across a very drunk woman who thinks that he is her date, and she asks him to take her home and have sex with her. So he takes her to the junkyard that he's living in, where all these homeless people are living, has very rough sex with her, and then flees when a group of other homeless guys all come upon them and drag her off to gang rape her.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I remember this.
It doesn't end there, because the next morning he finds her dead in the junkyard and decides to have sex with her corpse.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Very classy gentleman.
Yeah.
Good main character.
Yeah. There's also a scene where one homeless guy gets his cock cut off, and the rest of the bums are all playing keep away with it while he's running between them,
I
trying
totally forgot about that.
trying to get his cock back.
Very good.
And then it all culminates in a big, huge battle at the junkyard, fighting this Vic Noto guy who's kind of like he reminded me a bit of Lord Humongous from Mad Max too.
Yes.
And he's an ex-Vietnam vet who's going through all sorts of stuff, but he's also ruling all of the homeless people in this junkyard city they've built. And it does have a weird, it's definitely set in mid-'80s New York, which is a not very happy place at that time. Mm-hmm. But this even seems post-apocalyptic in its setting, because the junkyard acts as a city itself too, where all these homeless guys are living in various cars and shacks and stuff like that throughout. Bad. This is a bad movie. However, I will say this. I found it reasonably well made on a $500,000 budget. I was really surprised at the camera angles. They were pretty inventive.
Well.
The effects.
Yeah, the effects were pretty good.
The effects were shockingly good. And they're just melting person effects and stuff like that. But this is definitely an exploitation film, and maybe the most exploitation film of all exploitation films, in that it's just like, if you like me, like, I'm not offended. I was teasing you with the Roma and the Gypsy, and I'm not offended by just about anything. But I feel like there was stuff in here that you could be very easygoing and still get offended by. The gang rape scene, I thought, was they don't show the gang rape, but they show the girl being dragged off, and she appears to be in real horror as she's screaming. She's either acting her ass off, or they are traumatizing the shit out of her, which I can believe. Yeah. I got a little bit of trivia here. Vic Noto, who plays Bronson, the Vietnam vet who runs the place, the junkyard. And when I say runs, he's not owning the junkyard. That's a separate guy who's also vile,
so he's like
and also very rapey.
This guy is just like the mayor. He's the popcorn king. He's running the homeless city that has made its way here. He was cast a day before principal photography commenced.
Whoa.
Less than 12 hours, actually. And he says, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, nor did I ever understand who Bronson was. I did scene by scene, not even knowing what the movie was about. I didn't read the script until 3 months after I was wrapped. And I still don't know who Bronson was. Which, that comes off. Yeah. I like this one. The producers were unsuccessful in getting product sponsorship for the film. I don't know
Shockingly.
why. Mad Dog didn't want in on that?
The only company that was interested was the manufacturer of Drake's Cakes, which would send the cast and crew a box of snacks every week. By the end of the 3-month shoot, everyone had eaten enough of the snacks and were so fucking tired of them that when it came to make the scene where this big fat guy explodes, the fake stomach was filled with boxes and boxes of Drake's cakes for his innards.
Wow.
Here's a fun little fact. Future director and rapist Bryan Singer was a PA on this film.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Nice.
Let's see. I looked at some user reviews for this film, and I decided to read one of them off to you because I liked it. This is from Barry Wilson 3, and he left this in April of 2019.
Oh.
The title of the review is "You Can Polish a Turd," and his review goes this way: "A dirty gem that is awfully good, full of guts, slimes, and gore. If you like Citizen Kane, then watch Citizen Kane because this is street trash."
Wow.
Highly recommended for lovers of trash cinema. And I guess I have to agree, you know, as far as this kind of stuff goes, it is competently made. It looks pretty fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think the comparison to Toxic Avenger or something.
Yeah. A little better shot than that, but that kind of stuff, except for here, some of the humor is pretty funny in this. There are some funny scenes. And if it doesn't, because it's booze instead of food, if I have to overqualify this film for this topic, there are a couple of food scenes. There's a scene at the beginning where one of the hobos is washing, he's the stereotypical bum on the corner that rushes out to wipe your window with a dirty newspaper or something while you're stuck at the stoplight. He is wearing a gun holster on his hip, and it has a huge, like a leg of lamb stuffed in it, and it looks kind of like a gun. I mean, it's novelty sized. It'd be something that you'd see Conan, tearing a chunk off and holding the bone in his hand. And there's also a very freaky scene where one of the homeless guys is shoplifting meat from the freezer section of a store, and he's got so much frozen meat jammed in his clothes that it's actually quite funny because he looks like he's wearing like one of those inflatable Hulk suits or something. And of course, the store manager comes to talk to him about it. Are you going to pay for that? And he's standing there with his entire body just stuffed full of meat. Pay for what? And so there's moments in this film. There's going to be people like our buddy Craig, who probably loves this movie.
Sure.
And I know there are lovers of this kind of trash exploitation cinema. It's not my favorite, but I do have to say that I walked away from this and I wasn't horrified. I was more kind of scratching my head going, how did they manage to do this on such a tight budget? I mean, 87 is not that long ago. $500,000 for a film was not enough to make a feature-length film. So,
I have a strange connection to this movie.
Oh, all right.
I met the director at Horror Find.
Oh.
And crushed the poor man accidentally.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
It's a film that I'd heard of for years and had just never seen and still had not seen when I met him. And somebody, I forgot who it was, introduced. And oh, man, yeah, I've heard of Street Trash. And he's like, oh, really? What did you think of it?
I said I heard of it.
Yeah, as I say, and I stupidly said, well, I haven't seen it yet. And he didn't look like he was angry or annoyed. He looked like I kicked his puppy.
Oh.
It was such a crestfallen face going, oh, shit. But I hear it's coming there. And he was promoting like it coming out on DVD or something. It's like, but I saw it's coming out on DVD, so I'm going to make sure I pick that up. And I'm going to, trying to recover. It's like, sorry, sir.
He's worked on True Lies and Rush Hour and all of that stuff, so I'm sure he wasn't that horrified by it or disappointed. I think that this is also one of those movies that you can't really... If you rent this and you see the poster, you kind of know what you're getting into. It's a bum in a toilet who's dissolving, and he's reaching for one of the top handle flushers, and his hand has come apart from his skin and all this stuff. And I feel like you see that, and if you go, yeah, I think I'll rent this, then you get what you deserve.
Yeah.
That one was definitely a hard one. So I'm trying to remember what t-shirt company it was, but it was either like Cavity Colors or Bright Rags, or somebody was putting out this really cool cool shirt. Like, unbelievably fucking cool. Bright yellow, bright pink, bright green shirt. And I was like, man, I want this shirt so bad, but I should probably watch the movie first. And I'm very glad I did.
You're saying you don't have this shirt in your collection?
I actually do not have this shirt. I'm actually really sad about it because the shirt is great. This film, it actually made me feel really sick inside. And it was already kind of, exploiting the homeless. I don't know. It's so dark in so many ways that I agree with you. Like, the effects are fucking phenomenal. There are plenty of moments that actually do feel kind of funny and like you forget what kind of film you're in. And then all of a sudden you get a giant, very long gang rape scene that goes on for a while. And it's just like, what?
Well, let me just correct you. It's just a rape scene that goes on for a long time. Then she gets dragged off. We don't see her get ganged.
It kind of, I felt like it was a while. There was a lot of shots of different people handling her. I do remember
the dragging off is uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable. That's what I'm saying. She looks like she is in real fear for her life.
Yeah, it's really, it messes with you. And even, it's kind of, you could almost get away as like a not enjoyable but watchable exploitation film about the homeless, and then you just throw in like these horrific sexual moments. Like, even the junkyard guy and his assistant chick who he keeps trying to fuck is like, it's just, I personally, it's a freezer film for me. For sure. But I wouldn't come down on somebody necessarily for liking it, because I do see what you're talking about. I think for me, it's a very personal choice of like, what kind of exploitation film are you willing to put up with? Right. And for me, this isn't. But at the same time, there are plenty of others that I would. So
yeah. I mean, you are left. The filmmakers ask you to root for the guy who fucked the dead corpse.
Yeah.
At the end in the fight.
And he fucks like, over a lot of people,
I'd
too.
really like a nuclear bomb to be dropped on this junkyard for an ending. That seems like the way this should go.
It's weird. There's no likable character really in this film.
Yeah, even the cop is, kind of shitty asshole cop.
Absolutely. I think this is a great allegory for 1980s New York. It's very, very spot on.
It is. I did enjoy, there's a lot of shots outside on the streets in New York, and you can tell they're not downtown, but New York was just fucking crime central until 1995 or something. Yeah. And whenever who was the mayor? Was that Giuliani who came in and fucking cleaned everything up?
Somebody.
I mean, look,
it's hard to remember that Giuliani
he's also
was
a monster,
useful.
but sometimes monsters are necessary.
Oh. Wow. Well, man, thank you guys so much for checking out different food films.
I'm just so sorry that you chose this genre and then ended up with a shit of a film.
I thought it was going to be so fun. I was so excited. I remembered the last 5 minutes very clearly, and I was waiting to get to there. And that journey was not worth it.
Yeah, well, this was an uncomfortable episode.
The hell of a good one, man. I'm fine.
You're the winner. I'm just going to call it. You won.
You're
Eric.
The winner with the thumbtack swallowing movie. Makes my balls crawl just thinking about it.
Yeah, the movie about deep-seated depression and food issues. Yeah, that's the winner.
All right. Well, that means it's my choice for next week, you guys.
I hope it's something we can find something cheery through.
I'm choosing Walt Disney films from the 50s.
All right. Done and done.
Oh. No, I thought that it might be nice to kind of get back to basics here. And we've done episodes on vampires and werewolves and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, hey, we still don't have a mad scientist episode. Ooh. So let's go with some mad science for the next episode.
It's very exciting.
Anyway.
Hey, for our longtime listeners, we know we've done experiments gone wrong and things that touch on this, but I think we've definitely got a.
This one requires you to have an inventor or scientist who is clearly obsessed and mad. He doesn't have to be mad until we are revealed that he's mad, but. So even something like The Fly, I think, would work for this. Goldblum is kind of a mad scientist in that one, right?
Yeah, so, absolutely.
All right.
Cool.
So that's what we're doing next week, guys.
Nice.
As usual, big, huge thanks to everybody who's always liking, sharing the posts, sharing the episode releases. We really, really appreciate that.
It's time to make Kelly a little uncomfortable again. Let's get out there, get us some 5-star reviews, and list a movie That's right. I'm asking for 5-star reviews. Honestly, if you want to give us a 1-star review, write a reason. I'd be kind of curious because
have we gotten any additional 1 stars?
I think we've 2 stars, the lowest we've got, but they didn't write why. So it's like, you might have something cool that we go, what's a great point?
It was probably something I said.
But
yes, you offended people, and definitely neither of us would have ever done that. So.
And we got more 5-star review music to use. So
yeah, we got to get to all that stuff. So, okay, everybody, that's it for the show. We're back next week with Mad Scientists, and we will see you then.
Yep.
Our show is recorded somewhere high above Naval Station Everett at the nexus of all realities and is engineered and produced by Eric Morgret. Our theme music is Strange Eons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find Strange Eons Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and wherever fine podcasts